A very good evening. Welcome to Premier League Live here on LFS this Saturday evening. And great to get off your weekend with you this evening. Great to have you with us for this one, a double header this Saturday night of Premier League action, and 2 games tomorrow, and we conclude match day 10 of the season on Monday nights at the Stadium of Light. 5 games have already concluded this afternoon in the 3 o'clockers. Brighton thumping Leeds by 3 goals to nil. Another comfortable win for Arsenal on the road, 2-0 victors there away at Burnley. They were 2-0 up at half-time, were the Gunners. Palace continuing what is an incredible run of form as they knock over Brentford 2-0 at Selhurst, and a comfortable 3-0 win for Fulham at bottom of the table. Wolves are very hot favourites now to be going down. They were down to 10 men as well in that game, Wolves. And look at this, a great game at the City Ground between Nottingham Forest and Manchester United. Sean Dyche getting his first point as Forest boss. Man United were were 1-0 up in that game. They went 2-1 down to Nottingham Forest before scraping an equaliser through Ahmad to get a draw, which ended their winning streak, but they're still unbeaten in their last 4. Tonight, we watch a fierce London rivalry in North London. It is Spurs taking on Chelsea, two sides that have batted heads before, and we will see if tonight is another remunerance of those types of moments in this sort of fixture. Some would say this is more fierce than Arsenal v Spurs, but not more historic. Certainly, there is a lot of harsh rivalry between these two, and we'll see, as I said, if that continues here this evening. Let's have a look at the two teams then for this one between Spurs and Chelsea, starting with the home side. And Tottenham, they start with Guillermo Vicario in goal. A back 4 of Pedro Porro, Kevin Danzo, Mickey van der Ven and Jed Spence in defence. João Palhinha continues alongside Rodrigo Bentancur in midfield. Pap Sarr is further forward. Lucas Bergvall off the left, Kudus off the right, and Randall Kolo Muani starts up front for Spurs this afternoon. On the bench for Tottenham, Kinski, Romero, Udogi, Simons, Richarlison, Tell, Johnson, Audebert and Scarlett. Good to see Christian Romero back in the bench after he was, of course, ruled out before the warm-up of their last game, of course, which ruled him out of that game. For Chelsea, well, it's been a topsy-turvy last few weeks, but they've had a decent run of form, shall we say. But last time out in the league, it was home defeat, but they want to bounce back. We start with Robert Sanchez in goal. We don't know whether it's a back 3 or a back 4, but we're thinking it might be a 4, but Malo Gusto could drop into a 3 if they need him to. But Malo Gusto's in the side. James, Fofana, Chalobah and Cucurella make up the defence. Caicedo could be joined alongside Gusto in midfield, but Enzo Fernandez is in there. Neto further forward on the wings alongside Alejandro Garnacho, and João Pedro leads the Chelsea line. On the bench for the Blues, Jorgensen, Tosin, Hato, Chiempong, Estevao, Lavia, Gittins, Santos and Guiu. It is Spurs against Chelsea, a London derby to get us underway this Premier League weekend on LFS. Kick-off at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is next. A very good evening. Welcome to this one this evening, Premier League Live, on this Saturday evening as we kick off match day 10 in the Premier League. And it has been a very exciting, as I said, afternoon already. We'll recap all of those 3 o'clock results at half-time in this game, as well as looking ahead to what is a massive game at Anfield at 8 o'clock tonight. Liverpool on a 4-game league losing streak, and Aston Villa on a 4-game league winning streak. So they are very contrasting forms. We'll see those two sides meet on Merseyside a little later. But first, it is Spurs against Chelsea. And two sides that have high hopes of European football this season. Both, of course, in the Champions League and wanting to build upon the foundations that their managers are creating. Of course, a very good start for Spurs under Thomas Frank to start the season. Sit third as they come into this one tonight. Chelsea drop all the way to 11th after last week's defeat to Sunderland, and all other results already this weekend having taken place. But it is Chelsea that get us underway with Enzo Fernandez, and we're off and running in this London derby at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs, of course, in their home strip of white shirts, navy shorts, and Chelsea in their home strip of all blue. It'll be very intriguing to see how these two match up. Of course, Chelsea have probably had the lay of the land over the last few years in this fixture. In the last 2 seasons, they've done the double over Spurs. The last time Spurs beat them was in the season Spurs went unbeaten against Chelsea, which was the 22-23 campaign, when they drew at Stamford Bridge and Spurs beat Chelsea here 2-0. And that was their last victory over Chelsea for Spurs. Since then, Chelsea have won all 4 of their recent Premier League meetings, including 2 big 4-goal scorelines here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 4-1 and 4-3 in the last 2 visits to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. For Chelsea, of course, both were under Ange Postecoglou, so a new dawn, a new era at Spurs with Thomas Frank in charge, and he's got off to a pretty good start. For Spurs, 5 wins, 2 draws and 2 defeats from their first 9 league games. Sees only Bournemouth and Arsenal ahead of them in the Premier League table coming into this weekend. A draw for Spurs tonight would put them up 2 seconds, but Bournemouth and Sunderland would still have to play. As here comes Spurs down the right hand side. First real attack of the evening. It's Kudus trying to find an outlet, plays it across to Bentancur, but Chelsea have ample players back to see off any sort of threat from Spurs there. Ooh, opportunity of a run forward for Kevin Danza when he almost put Spurs in a bit of bother, but Van de Ven's there to mop it up. Welcome in everybody joining us in the chat. Andy says, evening Kevin, hope all is well. Good day so far for a Gunner with Raya, Timber and Gyökeres in his FPL team. Yeah, I've had a good day with FPL. I had Daniel Munoz in for Palace, so they got a clean sheet, so that was great for me. I had Victor Gyökeres in, he got me 5 points. Eze I had in, which wasn't the best choice, but he got me 3 points, and David Raya got me 6, so not too bad. Do I have a player in this one? I do. I have Pedro Porro for this game in my fantasy team, so not a bad start to the weekend, I have to say. Long way to go though for it to completely mess up. As Chelsea there battling, and Papsar a little bit too overzealous to try and win the ball back off João Pedro, and on that occasion it's going to be a Chelsea free kick deep in their own half. As Lucas Bergvall gets back to his feet holding his head, but see what happened here. Bergvall might have had the ball skim the back of his head, and he goes down straight away, but he's up and okay. The referee Jared Gillett has to make sure that he is okay and not suffering from a concussion or any sort of head injury, Lucas Bergvall, and the physios are going to come on to make sure, because Lucas Bergvall does look a bit dazed here. He doesn't look completely fine, as we see this little bit of a late challenge by Papsar on João Pedro. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a clumsy one, as we keep an eye on Lucas Bergvall. Looks like Lucas Bergvall's had a deep conversation with his physio. And they are making sure that he's okay, but he doesn't seem to be too cooperative here, Lucas Bergvall. He is not happy with this physio that he's being checked for concussion, but of course, that is the rules. They do have to check to make sure that he is okay. He's saying over and over he's okay, but that's not the physio's prerogative. He's to make sure that he's okay from his point of view, from his medical point of view, and Lucas Bergvall's still not happy. And I don't think he's going to be happy that he's going to have to come off the pitch for 30 seconds here, which I completely understand, but at the same time, that is the rules. And Reece James there, nice gesture just to come over and check if Lucas Bergvall's okay, and he is. Thomas Frank for the moment, while he gets further assessed, Lucas Bergvall, and has to be off the field for being assessed. Well, he's still refusing to be checked up here. This is very bizarre. I've never seen that before. As he's off the field now, we're back in play. Here's Malo Gusto. Down the right-hand side comes Neto for Chelsea. And as he switches it across, look at the space out in that side for Garnacho. Beautifully taken down. Garnacho inside to Cucurella. Back to Caicedo. And across to Reece James. James laid it off to Pedro, who worked it back to his captain. And now out wide to Pedro Neto. Onto his left. Rolls it forward for James, who puts the ball in. And it's fired with a header behind by Papsar for the corner. Well, now there's even more confusion. Bergval's still on the sideline. Thomas Frank's now arguing with the physios. The fourth official's there now, and he's... Where's he going? He's going down the tunnel. Well, I think they're going to have to really fully check him up, and they're going to make a change here, our Spurs. So Lucas Bergval's down the tunnel. He's away down the tunnel. He's off. And Xavi Simons is going to be coming on here for Spurs. So I think it's going to be a concussion substitution that they're going to use here, Spurs, because that is the only reason I could see why Lucas Bergval's gone down the tunnel, because they want to do further checks. Because he did look really dazed. He didn't look like fine on his feet. And with that sort of concern, the Spurs physios are taking no risks whatsoever. And that change is a concussion substitution. So Lucas Bergval is off, and Xavi Simons is on via a concussion substitution for Spurs, which means Chelsea now have 6 subs as well as Spurs. Corner to Chelsea. Lofted into the area. And the goalkeeper has firm grasp of it, but there was a foul in any case on Bentancur. Maybe see it here. I mean, João Pedro, or not João Pedro, that was another battle. It's Wesley Fofana and Rodrigo Bentancur just tussling and wrestling in and around the goalkeeper, and Fofana just kind of throws Bentancur to the floor. It's definitely a foul. Definitely a strange start to this game, but an early substitution for Spurs, a concussion substitution for Lucas Bergval, who's gone down the tunnel to be further treated, and that is seemingly the end of his evening in Spurs colours. Vicario will take this free kick, fired long up the middle, a bouncing ball in behind, but easily fed back to Robert Sanchez in the Chelsea goal. Cucurella gets rid of the ball just in the nick of time. Right to the left-hand side, and all the pressure by Spurs on Enzo Fernandez as they win it back, and Palhinha does really well and wins a throw-in for Spurs. That's really good pressing from the home side, isolating Enzo Fernandez and then stealing the ball away from him. Danzo tries a flip ball over the top, but too much pace on that one, and it's guided out for a goal kick by Moises Caicedo, which gets a roar from the travelling Chelsea supporters. Quick dash across London to this one, from West London to North London. And those Chelsea fans will, as I said, have had recent good memories here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, having won their last 2 trips and scoring 4 goals in each of those last 2 games away at Spurs. It's quite a roaring form as Jed Spence does well to break forward here. He's still going on his own there, Spence, as he laid it off to Kudus, but the ball had escaped the Spurs' control. But that was wonderful from Jed Spence. Great solo run. And I think Mohamed Kudus kind of got in his way there, and the ball was taken away from him. Chelsea were able to retrieve, but 1 or 2 really good moments from Spurs in between the lines, and their pressing as well is really intense. It's Chelsea playing out from the back. Cucurella down the left hand side. Enzo Fernandez firing it forward. Nice little flick by João Pedro, who went down under a challenge from Kevin Danzo, and that's going to be a Chelsea free kick around about the halfway line. Well, that defeat to Sunderland last weekend, as Pedro Neto's gone in behind here. He's kept it in play from that long ball. It's Jed Spence trying to see him away from goal. And really good covering from Javi Simons, but the last touch off the Spurs player will be a corner. As I was saying, that defeat at home to Sunderland last week for Chelsea is their only defeat. The only time they haven't won in any of their last 6 games. 5 wins and 1 defeat in their last 6 for Chelsea in all competitions. Corner here for Chelsea, their second of the evening. 8 set-piece goals this season, the second most to Chelsea. They go short from this corner. Comes back out to Pedro Neto, who will whip it in with his left foot. Headed clear. Only as far as Cucurella, who decided to have a shot, but it was blocked. And now Spurs want to spring away. Kudus was brought down a little bit cynically there. And that's going to be a free kick to Spurs. But Chelsea wanting to end that Spurs counter-attack before it even started on that occasion. Van de Ven. Back to Danso. Cross now to Porro, who will ping one forward, but to no one in Spurs colours, and that will just bobble out for a Chelsea throw down that left-hand side. Pretty wasteful there from Pedro Porro. Well, it's not only the last 4 games in the Premier League that Spurs have struggled against Chelsea. They've only won just one of their last 13 Premier League games against Chelsea, drawn 2 and lost 10. They lost their last 4 in a row since a 2-0 win at home in February of 2023. So not a very good recent record at Chelsea against Chelsea at all. For Spurs, in either of the last 2 seasons or in any of the last 13 meetings. Spence swinging one down the left channel, and a bit of a tough one there to keep in play, but Wesley Fofana makes sure there's no attempt of it and goes out for a Spurs throw. Gusto has it now for Chelsea. We'll feed it back across to Cucurella. Not much attacking having happened in the last 5 minutes or so. Not much really to say in front of the goal for either team as of yet. Here's Neto. Trying to work his way down the right channel. Has to feed it back to Wesley Fofana. Across to James. And now Chalobah. As Chelsea keep possession, but Spurs pushing them back into their own half. Here's Chalobah. Across to Cucurella. Oh, a little bit of a heavy touch there by Enzo Fernandez, but he gets away with it as Cucurella feeds it back to his goalkeeper. Again, the Spurs press really intense and really strong so far, although that's a nice little touch by Fofana. And Pedro was given no room whatsoever there. A little bit bobbly as Enzo Fernandez picks it up down the left side, finding Alejandro Garnacho. Dribbling towards goal, finds Fernandez, tried to cut back, wanted a penalty, not going to get one. Pedro Porro comes away with the ball. He wanted a handball there, Enzo Fernandez, but it looked like it came off the leg of Pedro Porro. As we play on, as they wanted a foul, they've played advantage, the referee, and Garnacho forces the corner. I've got to say, Jared Gillett very incessant, that's no penalty. We'll see it again. Yeah, it comes off the leg and up onto the arm, but his arms were tucked behind his back. There's not a chance in hell that that would be given as a penalty, and it is just a corner to Chelsea. I think that's more than the correct decision, certainly. Corner for Chelsea, left hand side this time. Reece James is over it. There's a couple of corners now that Chelsea have started to rack up, but to no real avail as of yet. It's their 3rd corner of the game in 15 minutes, but no real efforts towards goal. Reece James can change that as he's going to ping this one in. Lifting it into the box and clambering to get it away with Spurs players. But it's bounced out for Caicedo. Now Gusto. Kind of spin past his man with Enzo Fernandez, who was battling with him well. And they both go down. And it's just seen as a fair tussle by the referee. Goal kick. A decision that Enzo Fernandez is a little bit bemused by. I don't think it's that deep. There's nothing really in it, if I'm honest. Nothing in it at all. It's just kind of a bit of a wrestling between the two players, and there's nothing much in it. Long clearance there by Spurs. Chalobah didn't bring it down comfortably, but it was picked up by Garnacho, and now Caicedo poking one forward and finding the head of Van de Ven. That's a lovely little flicked header by Xavi Simons. Breaks down the left and was brought down by Malo Gusto, but no foul, said the referee Jared Gillett there. Fair challenge on Gusto. Referee letting a lot of the game flow, which is what you kind of want to see. Reece James miskicked it and was dispossessed. Here's Xavi Simons again. Dribbling towards the box. Simons was brought down right about the edge. It's kept alive for Spurs. They whip it in. Up and away by Chalobah. Trying to keep it alive, Spurs, but a bit of head tennis there, which allows Chelsea to retrieve. And just seems like there's no respite at all for the Chelsea defence. Certainly not on that occasion when Spurs were on the ball in the final third, and certainly really trying to be potent with it. "17 minutes gone, still goalless here in North London between Spurs and Chelsea. A few nibblies so far, a few niggles between the two players, or the two sets of players, shall I say. A couple of little tasty challenges flying in. It's what you like to see in a rivalry. Not much attacking action so far. More on the physical side of things in these early moments. Garnacho holding on to the ball well there, and will just receive it back to his goalkeeper. Well, look at that. In the Premier League era, they've met 66 times. Spurs have won just 8 times. Chelsea have won 37, and there have been 21 draws. So it's a pretty one-sided rivalry. Certainly in terms of those stats, but here's Gusto. Now Pedro Neto. Down the right side, dribbling towards the box. Neto lifting one up too high. In there, Enzo Fernandez was breaking in, but it's kept alive by Cucurella on the opposite side. Caicedo feeding it through to Garnacho. Garnacho inside the box, dribbling to find a little bit of space as he cuts it back. And it's seen away by Pape Sarr. But Chelsea getting a little bit more comfortable on the ball in the final third. Trying to really penetrate through this Spurs defence. And at the moment is holding firm. Here's Reece James to hit one from range. But that one is hit quite a distance over the bar. Look at that. Successful passes in the final third. 21 for Chelsea. 3 for Spurs. So certainly Chelsea having the better of it in an attacking sense. But as I said, still no real efforts on goal. Not much to really talk about in terms of goal-mouth action to this point. Ooh, a little bit silly again. Xavi Simons dispossessed and Reece James picks it back up. Here's Garnacho dribbling off the left onto his right foot. Lays it off now to Enzo Fernandez, who's being hounded by Palhinha. They're trying to desperately find space to manoeuvre. That's a lovely little combination. Garnacho! Shot straight down at the goalkeeper in Vicario, but that was wonderful little link up between Enzo Fernandez and Garnacho. Space did not seem to be there at all for either of them, but they find each other really nicely. And the shot from Garnacho is a little bit bobbly. I think it takes a little bit of a deflection as well. It just takes all the pace off it. It's easily gathered by Vicario, but Another little moment where Fernandez and Garnacho combining to try and create something for Chelsea. Here's Jed Spence. Nice little 1-2 there between him and Xavi Simons, but the return ball was just a little bit too much. And the ball back to the goalkeeper for Malo Gusto is very heavy. Robert Sanchez had no chance. Corner to Spurs. Well, when it looked like the return ball from Xavi Simons was too heavy for Jed Spence, well, Malo Gusto has gifted Spurs a corner with that back pass to his goalkeeper. It was more like a shot rather than a pass, and it had so much pace on it. And it's going to be a Spurs corner. Their first of the game, and their first real bit of goal-mouth action incoming, surely. As Porro comes over to this left side to take the corner, applauding the fans as he does so. Bodies all at the back post for now. So Pedro Porro to deliver, telling the players to calm before he takes it. Lots of players in that 6-yard box. Porro, right-footed, fires it off, nearly on the inside post. It's headed away at the near post. As he whips it back in again, Porro comes off a Chelsea head. And Chalobah behind for another corner. Look at this for a corner. Beautifully whipped in, and it was curling towards that front post. It's headed away by Chalobah, and then it's whipped back in by Porro. And Chalobah again gets his head to it, and this time behind for another corner. As we will see a corner for Spurs on the opposite side, the right-hand side this time. Again, similar idea. Lots of players at the back post, striding inside. Whip back in again. Flick down. Half cleared as Xavi Simons will pick up on the edge of the box. Cucurella in his way as he tries to rescue something there, but it's cleared away by Reece James. Spurs do well there to keep it alive. Here's Xavi Simons, right-footed delivery. It's deep. Sanchez was coming, and Sanchez plucks it out of the air quite confidently there, the Chelsea goalkeeper. Really nicely done. You gotta say, it just seems like either side are on edge a little bit when they get to when they're defending their own box. There's a little bit of nervousness you can sense between the two sets of players when they are defending. So making it such an interesting start to this game. As Chelsea dispossessed again, Spurs want to move quickly, but Bentancur forced back the way on that one. Well, this is a happy hunting ground for Chelsea. They've won 5 of their 6 Premier League games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Lost just the other one. That was, of course, that game in 2023. But they've earned more victories at this ground than any other visiting side. So it is certainly Spurs' worst team to play against at home. In their new home. It's relatively new now. It's a good few years old now. 5 or 6 years old. It's relative, although. It's all relative. Here's Reece James. Down the right-hand side comes Malo Gusto. Again, not much action ahead of him, but he works it back inside for Neto. Now James. And across now. Back to Chalobah. Cucurella. Garnacho. Nice little flick round the corner from Fernandez, and Garnacho. The byline with a cut back. It's bobbling around the box. Spurs just calmly dealing with it and clearing it away. A nice combination as Kudus thumped off the ball. Spurs pick it back up again. Here's Sarr, deep in his own half. He threateningly challenged, but again no foul, said referee Jared Gillett. Certainly allowing more physical battles in this game. That's what we like to see. All the way back here with Chelsea again with Reece James. Seems like Chelsea are the aggressor. Spurs really in moments just trying to cling on. Make sure Chelsea don't do them much damage, as that's nicely won back again. Again, João Pedro That's going to be really difficult tonight. There's a Pedro Neto, a Pedro Porro, and a João Pedro. That is not easy. But it is João Pedro who went down under a challenge, wanted a foul, not given once again. And at the moment, that's probably the big talking point of the game. The fact there's been a lot of challenges, the referees just let go, which, as a neutral, watching the game, makes it more entertaining. That ball's fell nicely here for Jed Spence. Down the left-hand side, little loose from Chelsea. Spence plays it across Kudus. Nice little touch. Not much room to try and have a shot. He works it well back out wide to Spence inside the box now. Spence onto his left foot. Tried to fire a ball across. Well blocked at the near side and out for another Spurs corner. Really good from Spurs again. Loose ball from Chelsea. Jed Spence strides onto it. They try and make something of it. Kudus couldn't get a shot off. He worked it back wide. And Spurs get a corner with Jed Spence knocking it off a Chelsea defender. And after what was a great start for Chelsea, 3 corners in 15 minutes. Spurs have had now all 3 of their corners in the last 11 minutes since that wrath of Chelsea corners. And here's a worry for Spurs at the moment. On the other side of the pitch, their goalkeeper Vicario is down, so that is not a good sign for Tottenham. Looks like his left leg is what's causing the most issue. There is Lucas Bergvall, after he was subbed for a possible concussion. He was assessed and he is okay. He's on the bench, and of course he has been replaced completely, so he isn't going to be coming back onto the field, but he's having a little chat with Archie Gray there. He, of course, isn't in the Spurs team tonight. Spurs have quite a few injuries, of course, this evening as Vicario gets treatment. You know, no Dejan Kulishevsky, no James Maddison, no Radu Dragoshin, no Ben Davis, no Yves Bissouma, no Dominic Solanke, and no Archie Gray. That is quite a number of players that are out injured for Spurs at this moment in time. Of course, Chelsea have a few injuries out as well. Levi Colwill, of course, out for the season. Liam Delap is suspended for this game. Cole Palmer's out. Benoit Badiashile is also injured, as well as Dario Isugo. So a couple of injuries for both of these two teams. And Vicario for Spurs doesn't want to be added to that list. It looks like he's okay up on his feet again. And okay to continue. Well, back to the action then. Another Spurs corner. Reece James was having a chat with the referee there. Not too sure what it was about, but a corner to Spurs here as Pedro Porro makes sure his laces are tied and the ball's in the right spot. So he readies to take this Spurs corner. 28 minutes gone, still goalless. Not much goal-mouth action, as I've said. Corners have probably been the most intriguing. Porro, right-footed corner, deep to the back post, headed away and will bobble behind and out for a throw-in. On the far side by João Pedro. Looked like it was going to bobble behind for a corner, but it just stayed in. And it's gone out to the sideline, so a throw-in will come. And it looks like it's going to be a long one incoming for Spurs. The new trend in football, as of recent, the long throw. If that is what Spurs are going to do. Kevin Danzo's certainly got it in his locker. And it is going to go into the box, this one. Let's see. There is a Spurs player there that can be the outlet, as the referee's not too happy. Oh, this is strange. Something's been thrown onto the pitch. 2 like glass bottles of something. Little glass bottles. Guessing come from the away end. I don't think they'd be throwing them at their own player, but Chelsea put 3 players up from this long throw, and Spurs have had to put 3 players back. It's a very aggressive approach from Chelsea. They'll leave less players in their own box for this long throw, but let's see how it works. Kevin Danzo looping into the box and comfortably gathered by Robert Sanchez, who's now got 3 up the pitch. But can they find them all? What's lovely worked here, and they do have a 3v3 now to Chelsea as Gusto forced wide. He's still got it in, And as the cross was attempted, it was blocked. The Chelsea's aggressive approach was nicely defended by Spurs on that occasion, but Fernandes ultimately getting a throw-in out of that, or a goal kick coming out of that situation as he tried to win a corner. So we see the counter-attack from Chelsea from that Spurs long throw that was cleared away by Sanchez. He threw it into midfield, he worked it out to the right-hand side, and then it was a 2v2 in the box, and Malo Gusto tried to get the cross in, well blocked by his marker, with about a yard or two away from him. Oh, weird bubble! Shot from Pedro as well, saved by Vicario. That came out of nowhere. And now Spurs want to use that energy to spring up the other end. My goodness. Spurs again, a little bit of a weird deflection, little bobble in their own half, and João Pedro was unmarked, completely on his own, one-on-one with the keeper. And Vicario had to make the save as they work it out to the right side now here, Spurs. Here's Mohamed Kudus, who's fired over the bar. I have to see this again. Where did this come from? Spurs had it out on their own right-hand side of their own half, and it's just bizarre. I think it's Pedro Porro. He just tries to play it down the right channel, and it bounces off a Chelsea player in Garnacho and runs into the path of João Pedro. And Vicario had to be there to make the save, because that would have been a really bizarre goal to give away from Spurs. But the goalkeeper made the save, of which he desperately needed to. Van de Ven does well, finding Xavi Simons, who showed too much to Reece James. And Fofana now on the ball, he showed too much to his man. And now Xavi Simons. Really topsy-turvy game this. Really, really topsy-turvy. Neither side's had control. Neither side has really dominated. You'd say Chelsea have been more aggressive, but I think it's been one of those games where it's a mad moment that can change it in a matter of seconds. That's what it seems like. I mean, that moment itself merely just shows, it demonstrates how kind of bizarre that was. That little flick by Pedro Porro that bounced off Garnacho into the path of Pedro, and it could have been a Chelsea goal from a bizarre moment where Spurs had possession in their own half and really didn't do nothing wrong on that occasion. It's just a weird deflection, and it just seems like that might be this type of game, that something crazy might come out of nowhere and give one of these two teams an opening goal. Because I wouldn't say there's been a cohesive approach from either team really in an attacking sense. Chelsea have had a couple of good chances, but I wouldn't say that there's been a consistent theme with the way that they've been attacking. Quite versatile in the first 30 minutes or so for Chelsea. That's nicely recovered by Van de Ven, and Bentancur a little bit too direct on that one to find Simons. It's broke apart down that side by Gusto, and now Neto switching it. Look at the space for Garnacho, drifting onto the ball, runs into bodies as he enters the Spurs box, and it's taken away from him by Pape Sarr. Just seems like when Spurs do lose the ball, they're just trying to get everybody back into the box and solidify that area to make sure Chelsea can't do much more. But the spaces there is... Oh, it's won back by Caicedo. Sloppy from Spurs. Across to João Pedro, who makes no mistake this time, lobbing the goalkeeper. And Chelsea take the lead. He had a big chance, saved by Vicario about a moment or two ago. Well, he lifted that one over the keeper, and there was no doubt this time. João Pedro gives Chelsea the lead. And again, it's sloppy from Spurs. Far too hesitant, far too silly on the ball. And we see their shortcomings under the lights in glaring form. I mean, it's really sloppy. I mean, he's trying to do little flicks there, Jed Spence. Then it's brought back to his own defender. Van de Ven's trying to dribble round men as well. He runs into trouble. Caicedo with a really good press. Beats the Spurs centre-back. Gets into a good area. You think he's going to shoot. The goalkeeper's dragged to the ball. Squares it across to João Pedro. And Pedro lobbing it over the goalkeeper to give Chelsea the lead. Spurs 0, Chelsea 1. It's really sloppy from Spurs. Really, really sloppy. But I gotta say, what a press from Moises Caicedo. And Chelsea lead by a goal to nil. Thomas Frank kicking a water bottle. And Enzo Maresca punching the air. Very contrasting feelings and emotions in the opposing technical areas. But Spurs trail by a goal to nil. And it's all of their own doing, really. Sloppy in possession, in their own half. They'd been warned a moment or two ago, and they didn't heed those warnings. And they end up paying the price for what was another sloppy moment in their own defensive third. Danzo goes back to his goalkeeper, and Vicario has to scramble it away. Chelsea are pressing so high and so aggressively, but Spurs are playing into their hands here. I mean, some of these passes are absolutely schoolboy errors. I mean, why Kevin Danzo is firing a ball from 20 yards back to his goalkeeper while he's being pressed is beyond me. You're never going to get out of that situation. Never. Very deep now are Spurs in their own half, trying to play out again. No issue with that, just be sensible. The ball's fired long, over the top. And it's easily retrieved by Wesley Fofana. It seems like Chelsea have got firm grip of this game at the minute. Really seems like that press that they've imposed, certainly more aggressively in the last few minutes, has just allowed Spurs to really crumble a little bit. And they just cannot string any passes together at the minute. Spurs have any real significance. Here's Xavi Simons. He plays it through, and going down there was Papsar, I think that was. And it's a free kick for Spurs. You've not really heard much around Kolo Muani as of yet, or Mohamed Kudus for that matter, for Spurs. Not much attack and action at all from the home side in the first 37 minutes. I said their corners have probably been their most frivolous moments, but they've really, really struggled to get the ball into Chelsea's box and threaten. So they'll have a free kick here though. Left hand side, 20, 30 yards out. 25, 27 yards out, something around that. Porro and Kudus over it. It's Pedro Porro, right-footed, whipped in, but right into the hands of Robert Sanchez. He will catch those all day long as he fires one forward, and Neto's through the middle. And that's a really good opportunity, really good attempt, but Neto was just about covered over by the Spurs defence. But the ball was certainly on. Straight, long ball, route one, right up to Pedro Neto. And it almost worked for Chelsea. Reminder for you, this is our first game of the evening. We have another game coming up for you. 8 o'clock kickoff at Anfield. Liverpool taking on Aston Villa at 8 o'clock this evening. Liverpool on a 4-game losing streak in the league against a Villa side here have won their last 4 in the league. So very contrasting. And we'll talk all about Arne Slot's Liverpool and the champions and their recent form a little bit later on. We'll have team news from that game at around about 6:45 for you. That's a foul there on Xavi Simons by Reece James. Referee Jared Gillett blowing his whistle quite imminently. Yeah, Reece James can fly, and it was a high boot, you know. Studs was showing, but they weren't showing when he made contact, so it's just a foul, but an aggressive one, as I said, from Chelsea. Spurs go all the way back to their goalkeeper and Vicario again. Nice ball to Jed Spence. Surrounded by 3 Chelsea players. Spence trying to work back into his own half, and he wrestles the Chelsea player down to do so, but he's fairly done it, said the referee. Here's Kudus, tracked all the way by Cucurella. Again, no room, no options. And he does win a free kick as Cucurella did grab a hold of the shirt of Kudus. I've got to say, man marking there from Chelsea to its finest. Cucurella just tracking Kudus wherever he went there and was just giving him no respite whatsoever. Really, really impressive from Chelsea. Vicario has to go long again, and really to no one, although Fofana made a little bit of a muddle of that. He does evade Randall Kolomoani on that occasion, and Chelsea do play it back, but there's a little bit of a wobble there for the visitors. Come out unscathed. Kudus nowhere to go again. You just kind of feel, though, that despite Chelsea having more aggression, more physicality, seemingly on top in this game and leading, you still feel that there's an option, there's still an opportunity in this game for Spurs to swing the momentum back in their favour. It doesn't seem like the game is out of the grasps of Thomas Frank's team yet. And that will keep them hopeful and positive. They're going to need to show something before half-time, those Spurs. They've had just one shot in this first half. It was off target, and a 0.03 XG from that shot. Here's Kudus, one-on-one with Cucurella. Down the right side, he's got Caicedo for help. Does Cucurella, but Kudus dragging him on his own again. Trying to find a way through. Kudus does really well to work it into the box. Half cleared by Chalobah. And now Enzo Fernandez linking up with Garnacho. And João Pedro's going to make a run in behind. If someone can find him, Garnacho's just going to carry it wide to the left. And Chelsea will just recycle it back into midfield. Really sensible from Chelsea on that occasion. Here's Gusto. Down the right there's Pedro Neto. Back to Malo Gusto. And now Reece James across to Moises Caicedo. Well, a win for Chelsea tonight would put them level on points for Spurs. Shows how tight the top of the table is. They would jump 7 places, Chelsea, from 11th to 4th with a victory this evening. They'd be on 17 points, only a point below Bournemouth in second, and they would be 8 points off league leaders Arsenal if they were to win, as would Spurs, of course, on the same number of points. There's a chance! Great cross, great shot, good save. Great cross on the right-hand side from Chelsea there. It's Pedro Neto, I believe it is. No, it's not. It's Neto plays it in behind for Malo Gusto, sorry. He whips it back across the 18-yard box. Again, very weak defending from Spurs. No one in there to battle. Pedro runs off his man, and João Pedro fires a really good effort at Vicario, who parries it over the bar for a corner. But really nicely worked again from Chelsea. But really hopeless from Spurs. I mean, that was really weak. Really weak. But really positive from Chelsea, certainly. Another corner. The last thing Spurs want to do is make it even worse for themselves going into half-time. Corner delivered in. Wet the near post by Papsar that time, and out for a Chelsea throw on the left-hand side. It's they're in no major hurry to take. Here's Marc Cucurella to take this throw in. They're not going to go long, it seems, Chelsea. Yeah, short to Gusto, and then in the end that actually doesn't work out for Chelsea as Spurs try and spring away with Kudus, who was gone down again, back on his feet to battle to win the ball back. And then there's a tussle there down that side as Enzo Fernandez goes down under the challenger Papsar. Free kick to Chelsea. It seems like it's one of those games. It is a very enjoyable game to watch. You know, it's one of those we never actually know what's going to come next. There's no real momentum in this game. It's whatever way the wind blows is the way this game's going. And at the minute, the wind is blowing a lot more in Chelsea's favour than it is to Tottenham Hotspur at this minute in time. So we edge into the final minute of the first half. We'll see how long we'll be added on. There might be a few minutes with Lucas Bergvall having that concussion injury. Maybe a few added minutes as Spurs win it back there through Kevin Danzo's press. Xavi Simons, not much room to manoeuvre again as he's a little bit too hesitant to play the ball forward. And João Palhinha has to go backwards, but seems to be a similar theme for Spurs. The more inclined to go back with the ball and to go forward. And the home crowd are getting a little bit antsy about it, as we will have 6 added minutes at the end of the first half then. Yeah, I have to say, they seem a bit antsy at the minute, the home crowd here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Not really happy with what they've seen from their side, and can you blame them? That's a lovely ball in behind for Garnacho. Nicely battled was Pedro Porro, but Garnacho has the ball again. And it just seems like Spurs are really lacking sharpness. It's quite bizarre. Quite bizarre. And they lost their League Cup tie away at St James's Park in the week, in the 4th round away at Newcastle. Fabian Schär and Nick Voltemade the scorers that night. And Spurs actually lost their last home league game, and they took on Aston Villa here a few weeks ago, and they were 1-0 up in that game, Spurs, and they ended up losing 2-1. Remy Buendia's late goal for Aston Villa. Another weird and undercooked back pass to the goalkeeper and Vicario there, and Chelsea were almost in again. I mean, honestly, architects of their own downfall at the minute, Spurs. I'm telling you, if they tighten things up and be a bit sharper on the ball, they can get themselves back into this game. But that's a risque challenge, and it's unleashed a bit of fire in the players here as it's all boiled over. Reece James going down, and the screams audible from the Chelsea captain as the referee tries to emanate calmness. And the referee now has to sort out this real muddle of a crazy show, as Chalobah is very incessant about what he thinks happened there on his captain. I'll see this again. Bentancur a little bit too. Oh, that's late. I think it's just a yellow card I would give there, not a red. It's a poor challenge, a really poor challenge by Rodrigo Bentancur. It's onto the ankle of Reece James, and he's just going to get a yellow. I think that's the right decision from the referee's point of view there. But it is a really poor challenge. Chelsea players, and especially Reece James, calling for a red card, but he's not going to get one. It's just going to be yellow, and there's going to be another yellow card handed out. This time to a Chelsea player, I think, but Rodrigo Bentancur given a yellow for that challenge. I think it's fair. I think a yellow is the correct decision, and Reece James debating it along with a few other Chelsea players, and I think one of those Chelsea players got a yellow card for their arguments. That's what it seemed like anyway. The referee just talking it over with Reece James now. It's definitely a foul. It's a really poor challenge onto the ankle of Reece James. It's late. He doesn't get the ball. It's onto his ankle. It's a really difficult one. It is late. Whoa. I don't like it. It's a horror challenge. Horror challenge. But I think a yellow is the correct decision as Trevor Chalobah gets himself a yellow card. I said he was very incessant with the referee that it was a red, but he's been given a yellow for his arguments, and of course he's not the captain, so he shouldn't be talking to the referee, and he's got a yellow card, Trevor Chalobah, for his arguments. So he's been booked, as well as Rodrigo Bentancur, for that challenge. And the resulting free kick has come to nothing as Spurs clear away from their own area. We've played 4.5 minutes of the 6 added. I'd say we'd play a little bit more than the 6 now because of that stoppage. As Sanchez's clearance is cleared out of the play. And out for a throw. Don't forget, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, our game of the week, Liverpool taking on Aston Villa, is tonight at 8 o'clock here on LFS. We'll have team news in about 25 minutes. As here's Randall Colomwani in for Spurs. Cuts it back to Papsar, who lays it off to Kudus, who tucks it. Well saved by Sanchez. Trying to find the far corner there, Kudus, and Sanchez parries it away. That was much better from Spurs. Can they scrape something before the break? Flick ball by Simons into Bentancur. Just about keeps it in play. Back to Simons. Now out wide to Bentancur. Wanting it into the box, the fans. Not happy that it's not been crossed in yet. And that's nicely done by Jed Spence. Does really well to hold on to the ball. Finds Simons, who does not want to cross. Gets whacked at it in his own wake there as Porro delivers it out to the right side. Kudus, they're desperate for a cross here, the Spurs fans, as Sarr tries to deliver one. Blocked to the near side. Out to the right side for Spurs here. Trying to spring a late consolation equaliser before the break if they can. Whip ball in is too deep. And that's going to go out for a goal kick. So when the cross eventually did come, it was far too poor of a quality cross. My goodness, you could tell in the wide areas, whenever a Spurs player got on in space, they were audibly annoyed that they weren't getting the cross into the box there, the Spurs fans. Audibly annoyed. Yeah, there's nothing in that. That's really smart play from Jed Spence. Really nicely done. You see this, it's poor from Chelsea. It's nicely taken down by Rana Colomwani, this opportunity. Flick back to Sarr. Sarr flicks it across to Kudus, who tries to arrow it to the far corner. Nicely parried away by Robert Sanchez. We'll see it again as it going in. It is going in. And Robert Sanchez with a really good save down to his right hand side to deny Mohamed Kudus. As here come Chelsea down the left hand side. They don't want to ship another goal before the break. As Van de Ven scrambles away. So we played 7 minutes of added time. And I said we'd play a bit more than 6. And there is the end of the first half. A booze emerged from the stands at the end of that first half, which is quite bizarre, but clearly a response to the way that their team have played in that first half. Something that has not amused the Spurs fans in this first half. A first half where Chelsea have been more physical, more aggressive, and certainly on top. And they have the scoreline to prove it at the break. Half-time, it's Tottenham Hotspur 0, Chelsea 1. Sure, one last kick. This is going to be it. This is the moment. Vicario kicks this. And Liverpool are there. Liverpool are Premier League champions. And there it comes. Crystal Palace, for the very first time in their history, are FA Cup winners. Oh, he's found the net. Oh, what a goal! Kvaratskhelia is through, wants to add a fourth, and does so. Ahmad, oh my goodness me! That is absolutely unbelievable! Rice again. Oh! You thought he couldn't beat the first one. He's gone and battered it. Another whip ball in. The header is in by Virgil van Dijk. Incredible! Welcome back to Premier League Live. Half time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at Spurs 0, Chelsea 1 at the break, and certainly a very intriguing first half here in North London. Sorry, 2 wee seconds, and I'm just typing something out here, but it is a Chelsea lead at the break. And a fairly deserved lead, I would say. I think, on the balance of things, I think Chelsea have been the better side. I think they have been the more competent side, and certainly with that goal, really nicely taken by João Pedro. He could have had a second as well in that first half with a good cross from the right hand side as well. But for Spurs, they've looked really poor, and on a couple of occasions they had a warning sign before that Chelsea goal. They had a warning sign that about losing the ball in their own half and giving it away in their own box and doing silly things, and they didn't heed those warnings. As I said in that first half commentary, they didn't take advantage of that earlier warning that they weren't punished from. They did the same thing, a sloppy move, a sloppy moment. Again, not taking anything away from Chelsea. A really, really good press by Moises Caicedo, really well won back, and I think take nothing away from that. But other than that, from Spurs, it's really below the level and not good enough from their point of view. Certainly in the way that they've played, and the crowd certainly letting them know that at half-time, that it's not good enough from their team the way they played in that first half. But I think there's more to come. I think there is more to come for Spurs. But it'd be nice to see it. It'd be nice to see a little bit more aggression from Spurs, a little bit more physicality, a little bit more quality in all areas. We saw actually the first real opportunity of quality they had, and probably the only bit of quality they had in the final third at the end of that first half, was when Randall Colomwani got to the ball. They played it nicely, worked it to Sai, then worked it to Kudus. Real combination of those attacking players for the first real time in the game that we'd actually seen that happen for Spurs. And Kudus came up with a good opportunity, a really good chance, and well saved by the Chelsea goalkeeper. But other than that, Spurs have really struggled. And I think for Chelsea's point of view, they need to try and, I think, take firm grip and add to their lead in this moment when Spurs are really off it a little bit. And just take the game away from Spurs and just say, you're not at it. We're just going to put you to bed. We're just going to say, well, you're not at it. You don't deserve to be in this game. And we're going to take ourselves away and come away and dominate for Chelsea. And I think in moments they've done that. I think there has been a real positive spell in that first half from Chelsea's point of view, where they had dominated in moments, and I think they probably could have more than the one goal, but the goal came very nicely, as I said, well won back by Moises Caicedo. Pressing in the opposition's box for a midfielder is really, really good. He wins it back nicely in a good area, and then João Pedro slots in, lobs it over the goalkeeper, and he learnt from that moment earlier. I said about heeding the warnings. Well, I have to say, João Pedro learnt from the earlier chance that he had that was saved by Vicario to the one that he scored against Vicario. And, of course, slightly different situations, but on the first one he tries to go low, he tries to direct it into a corner past the goalkeeper, who stays low and makes a good save, Vicario, with his legs. But in this one, when he does score, what he does is he takes the touch, sets it up, and then makes sure that he gets underneath the ball to carry it a little bit higher over the goalkeeper, rather than just striking it at the goalkeeper or striking it at a lower range, if you know what I mean, without the height behind it. Adding that extra little bit of a lob on the ball just carries it past the goalkeeper and gives him more chance to score. I think that was really smart from João Pedro. But from Spurs, again, it's really sloppy, really, really poor. And I think Thomas Frank will be fuming. We've seen it when Spurs conceded. When Chelsea scored, he was furious on the sidelines, and I can't blame him. His team have been nowhere near the level in that first half in terms of their physicality. As I said, Chelsea have been way more aggressive and deservedly dominating those areas of the pitch. But even tactically, doing really silly things. I mean, some of the play that Spurs have had, and you wonder, how are you expecting to actually go forward from this situation? There was a pass back to Vicario not long after that mistake that was the chance before the goal. So around just after that João Pedro chance, when he did win the ball back from a weird bobbly deflection moment from Spurs. There was a pass back by Kevin Danzo, fired back to his goalkeeper from 15-20 yards away from him. And I was like, how do you expect your goalkeeper to touch that and get a pass out in the matter of seconds while he's being pressed, with that ball coming back to him at such pace? How do you expect him to not do? The only thing that he did do was fire it out of play, because he has to take the touch first time. He has to clear it away. And I wonder, just really naive at times, Spurs, and some of the play that they've had in their own the final third. And you wonder that how it is so naive, how it is so really simple for Chelsea just to push onto them, press them, and have that ball back within a matter of seconds, and Spurs have no backup plan, no way to fit Chelsea into a press or break past that press or maybe bypass the midfield or even go longer. There's no other option for Spurs at the minute, and I think Thomas Frank will be really unhappy because I don't think that was the way they were meant to play or the way he set them up to play, and I think he would be really annoyed with his players at half-time because it really comes down to performance level, and the performance level of Spurs in that first half really hasn't been there, and it's something they certainly need to improve on if they're going to get back into this game, because at this rate the only thing that's really going to happen is either it's going to stay 1-0 or Chelsea are going to go further in front. That's the only scenarios I see from what I saw in that first half. I don't see Spurs equalising in this game. If they don't get their attackers involved in it on a more consistent basis, and they don't actually be more careful with the ball in possession, if they keep being sloppy in possession, Chelsea will kill you time and time and time again. And the amount of space that, as well, I mentioned in that first half that Chelsea were getting in and around the edge of the box, there was gaping holes for Spurs, and it seems like they kind of panic and go, right, we can't win the ball in midfield, everybody back into the 18-yard box to make sure we've got the 18-yard box secured. And right, fair enough if it works, you defend the situation, you don't get a shot on your goal, but it's not going to work all the time. You're not going to be able to just everybody retreat, edge of the box, make sure we get it away, make sure we punch it away or kick it away or get it as far away from our goal as possible. It's not going to work all the time. And you need to press, you need to work the ball in midfield, you need to be sharper with the ball in midfield. I think their midfield today, Spurs, has been really off it. I've not seen much from João Palhinha in terms of his good possession and moving the ball and manoeuvring the ball in between the lines. Really poor. I think Rodrigo Bentancur is probably another referee away from being sent off in this game. And Pape Sarr has really been non-existent in the final third sense. He's been actually doing a lot of defending, which is certainly not what he's in the game for. So multiple occasions in that first half where I go, you're not good there, and the midfield is not good, and you're like, it's a recipe for disaster for Spurs. But I say all that, and I will caveat it with this. They're only 1-0 down, and they can come out in the second half, be a completely different side, much more aggressive, much more higher pressing, much more comfortable with the ball and much kind of cleaner with the possession of the ball, and this game could completely change. But from the way that I've observed that first half and what I've seen from that first half, Spurs are lucky to not be further behind, and probably will be the happier that they're not behind, but also Chelsea will be pretty comfortable in thinking that if it stays as it is in the way the momentum's going in the game, there's only one way this result is going to go, and that is going to be a Chelsea victory. But it is only half-time, and there's still quite a bit to go. Right, let's remind you what happened earlier in the afternoon in the Premier League. 5 games took place at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Started on the south coast as Brighton took on Leeds. Comfortable victory in the end for Fabian Hürzeler's team against Daniel Farke's Leeds United. Danny Welbeck got the scoring underway after 11 minutes, set up by Mads Wiefer to give Brighton the opener in that one, before a second half Diego Gomez brace took it comfortably in Brighton's favour, 2-0 then 3-0, and Leeds completely battered on the south coast on that one, nowhere near in the game at all in that one, Leeds, and it is certainly a positive weekend last weekend with that win over West Ham, but not a great recent run of form. Lost 3 of their last 4 of Leeds United, and that's 3 defeats out of 5 this season that have come in their last 4 games. So a little bit of a downturn in form for Daniel Farke's team as of recent. A continuation of what is an incredible start to the season for Arsenal, who lead the way and quite convincingly are the league leaders at the moment. A 2-0 win over Burnley at Turf Moor. Declan Rice and Victor Gyökeres on the score sheet, scoring either side of the half. It's their 8th win of the season for Arsenal. They sit 7 points clear at the top of the table. Of course, Bournemouth still to play this weekend, so that will be dropped back to 4 if Bournemouth win away at City tomorrow. But if they don't, that could be a real interesting table come the end of the weekend. Burnley dropped to 17th, 10 points from their opening 10 games. Crystal Palace continue what has been a great run of form again for the Sellers club after what was a bit of a drabby form in the last few weeks in the league, winless in their last 3. before today's result. But that win over Liverpool in the Carabao Cup in the week certainly would have boosted their confidence, and they are 2-0 victors against Brentford today. Jean-Philippe Mateta with the opener, and an own goal from Nathan Collins meant it was 2-0 to Palace. 3-0 comfortable win for Wolves at home against for Fulham, at home to Wolves. 10-man Wolves it was in that game. Ran Sessegnon opened the scoring with 11 v 11, but Emmanuel Agbadou was sent off for a last man challenge on the Fulham player. I think it was Josh King that was brought down in that one. Harry Wilson then added a second for an own goal from Yerson Mosquera. Meant it was 3-0 to Fulham, and a comfortable victory for the Cottagers, which they much needed this season. It's only their third league win of the campaign for the Cottagers, who had lost all of the last 4 in the league coming into today's fixture. But when you play Wolves, it seems like recently anybody can beat them at this minute in time. A great result for Forest under Sean Dyche, the first point under Sean Dyche at home to Manchester United, a United side that were on a 3-game winning streak, and that guy, the United Strand, was thinking he was going to get his hair cut in a few weeks' time. Well, that's going to have to wait at least another 5 games now, because that winning streak is over. Casemiro gives United the lead, but a disastrous start to the second half for the Red Devils. Morgan Gibbs-White and Nathan Zavona turning that game on its head. They were 2-1 up for us within 5 minutes of the second half before Ahmad equalised for United just before in the 81st minute. So a 2-2 draw. Right, those are the 5 results. We're at half-time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is Spurs who trail by a goal to nil. And we'll see the second half in just a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Premier League Live. Half-time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Spurs 0, Chelsea 1. Don't forget, though, our game of the week is later on this evening at Anfield. Liverpool taking on Aston Villa. Liverpool lost their last 4 in the league. Villa won their last 4 in the league. We'll see how they face up. We'll have team news in about 5 minutes from that one at Anfield, so do stay tuned for that. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff between the champions Liverpool and Aston Villa. Right, back here for the second half, though, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Chelsea who lead by that goal to nil. But I'd say a first half, and just change the light on this because I don't like it flashing in the background. Should we go pink? Why not? Why not? Make it a bit more bright in the back, because that is very distracting, having that behind me. Chelsea leading by a goal to nil. The players back out on the field and awaiting the restart of the second half. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on post notifications if you haven't done so already. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all for joining us tonight for this one as we get your Saturday night action underway. A double header, as I said, tonight. We have Liverpool against Villa coming up a little later. And then a double header tomorrow as well. West Ham taking on Newcastle from 2. Before City face Bournemouth at 4:30 tomorrow, and then we round off our busy Premier League weekend at the Stadium of Light on Monday night as Sunderland hosting Everton. But back to this evening, we're back underway here at the TH in North London, and it has been very much the Chelsea show in that first half, as it has been, as I said, in recent meetings here. The last 2, Chelsea have scored 4 goals against Spurs here, and that is a terrible... I mean, what? Terrible by Kevin Danzo. Just terrible. It's the only word you can describe it as. Just terrible ball. Out for a Chelsea throw. I mean, it's sloppy again. Well, trying to get back into the momentum of this game against Chelsea. That's a sweeping ball from Enzo Fernandez. It does find its way to Garnacho's. It's flicked in behind from Cucurella, but too far towards Vicario. Well, Spurs have won 5 of their 9 Premier League matches this season, drawn 2 and lost 2. That's as many as they'd won in the last 26 games under Ange Postecoglou last season, so it's no doubt a much better turn of form under Thomas Frank, who's made quite a few adjustments, and they've made a very positive start. As Kevin Danzo there with a poor challenge, gets himself his name put into the referee's book with this challenge on Caicedo. Yeah, the ball had well gone. He just left a trailing leg in there, Kevin Danzo. That's just a little bit cynical. And another Spurs player in the book, Kevin Danzo, with a yellow card. Another Chelsea free kick. Taken short. Gusto will swing it back towards the box. Up in the air by Pap Sarr. It's not confidently defended as Cucurella keeps it alive, and then Sarr scrambles it away and out for a throw down that left-hand side for Chelsea. Cucurella goes short with the throw, finding Garnacho. It's crazy how we have to say that now, because long throws are so common now in the league that you have to say that whether a throw-in is short or long. That's a lovely little ball by Caicedo, finding Enzo Fernandez, who's got a chance to shoot. Got the space and shot it straight at Vicario. Down to his left, and a comfortable gather for the Spurs goalkeeper. Oh, that's just about kept in by Jed Spence. It looked a little awkward there for a second. Down the line it goes here to Randall Colomowani. Drifting inside, finding Pap Sarr. Nice first touch, trying to flick it for Xavi Simons. Well defended by Chelsea, although it's still alive. As Fofana takes a touch away from Sarr and clears his lines. But again, retrieved by Spurs. Nicely from Van de Ven. Now Rodrigo Bentancur. A little bit better from Spurs. Colomowani's come to the left side. He's playing centre forward in the first half. He's come out to the left wing, and Xavi Simons has kind of dropped us like a false nine in that central area. Here is Kudus. He's on the right. Cuts it back to Porro. Trying to find a cross. Porro's cross comes in. Blocked by Garnacho. Behind for a corner. Crowd responding to a bit of positive attacking play there from Spurs. And Spurs will have their first corner of the half and their fourth corner of the game. Mohamed Kudus to take this corner. Now footed delivery, it's deep, it's punched away by Sanchez. And it will bounce out for a throw into the far left side for Spurs. A little bit more threatening. I think they're going to go long here. Kevin Danzo's readied out for that throw. He's got the tile. He's rubbed down the ball and now he's going to go long. As Chelsea do their throwing three men up. Long throw into the box. Oh, it's fallen to a man here. Bounced in front of Rodrigo Bentancur and he couldn't get a shot off. That was a great long throw. It completely evaded all the Chelsea players. Spurs almost had a gift of a chance. As Xavi Simons was hacked down there by Moises Caicedo. And a free kick to Spurs. See this again. Great long throw by Danzo. Looping into the area. And it bounces down right in front of Rodrigo Bentancur. And he just cannot get a shot off. Tries to chest it, tries to take it down, and Caicedo's there to thump it away. But wow, that's the clearest, most competent long throw I've seen. It's been very direct there, and it almost worked for Spurs. But they've been much more threatening to start the second half. Free kick taken short. Porro lifting it round the corner. Too much for Rodrigo Bentancur to reach for. Goal kick. Just a bit too deep from Pedro Porro. Just a little bit much for Rodrigo Bentancur, who couldn't really do much on that occasion. Bouncing ball cleared away by Fofana and brought down by Van de Ven and back to Vicario by Danzo. Now Bentancur chased all the way by Reece James. No room. That man marking system again for Chelsea. Bentancur's at his own corner flag here. Fabulous from Reece James. I mean, no way of getting out of this at all, and he's won it back, Reece James, although Spence has got it back against him, and they clear it away to Spurs, but only as far as Caicedo. Fizz back in towards Pedro, but it's a bobbling effort. It's those one-on-one battles that Spurs are struggling in consistently, and when Chelsea go man v man, it's just a real horror show as that ball in from Enzo Fernandez is fired over the crossbar. Again, saw the moment where Rodrigo Bentancur gets the ball on the edge of his own box and he's got nowhere to go because he's tracked all the way back by Reece James right to his own corner flag. And again, it's those moments. We saw it a couple of times in the first half when Kudus came inside. He was followed all the way by Cucurella. A couple of other players just tracking their man no matter where they go. And that really aggressive man-marking system is working for Chelsea at the moment, especially because one, they're winning their duels when they are battling. Winning the 50-50s is so key to a man-marking system. And at the minute, Spurs are just not able to fend that off more often than not. And I think Spurs need to be more smart about their play. They need to drag players into positions they don't want to be. If that's the way Chelsea are going to play, and they need to be smart about leaving gaps and finding spaces and dragging players out of position, rather than trying to beat them one-on-one when you're being pressed in your own defensive third. It could be all about positioning. It could all be about one little tweak, one little gap of space that could open up. Right. Positive intent from Spurs to start the second half, but not much to show for that in the first few minutes, and almost already seems like Chelsea have got themselves back on top again. So we'll get team news from the Liverpool-Villa game in a moment. Ball into the box there by Chelsea, cleared away by Porro. Kudus trying to help out. Palhinha trying to ping a ball to the left channel. Nicely cut out on that occasion by Gusto. Reece James picked in a tight area, but he's stolen away from him as the ball is Xavi Simons had no one to play it to. And Cucurella plays it back to his keeper, who is rushed into trying to keep it in play. And he does so. Right, let's get you the team news from Anfield then. The champions Liverpool taking on Aston Villa at 8 o'clock this evening. The kick-off. The team news has just dropped in the last few minutes. And we can tell you, as Garnacho goes back to his goalkeeper deep in his own half, Liverpool start with Georgi Marmashvili in goal. Connor Bradley starts at right back. Konate and Van Dijk the centre-backs alongside Robertson at left-back. Gravenberch is back in after his injury. He starts alongside McAllister and Szoboszlai in midfield. Salah starts on the right flank. Cody Gakpo off the left. And Ugo Ekitike starts up front. Armin Pesci and Freddie Woodman, the backup goalkeepers. Gomez, Kerkez, Endo, Nioni, Wirtz, Chiesa and Rio Ungamoa all on the bench. No Curtis Jones after he was injured. And still no Alexander Isak for Liverpool. For Aston Villa, Martinez starts in goal. Cash, Konza, Torres and Digne in defence. Camara, Onana and Rodgers in midfield. McGinn off the left, Gersund off the right and Ollie Watkins leads the Villa line. On the bench, Bizot, Matson, Lindelof, Mings, Bogard, Brugio, Barkley, Sancho and Donyell Malen. No Harvey Elliott to play against this former team. Right, so Liverpool against Villa is an 8 o'clock kickoff, and we'll have that for you a little later on, about an hour's time. We'll be going live for that one, but still 35 minutes to go here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs trail by a goal to nil, and Chelsea trying to add to that lead now as that ball by Gusto is the wrong side of Kevin Danzo, although João Pedro was battling back and he wins the ball back again. And now here's Pedro Neto straight at the goalkeeper. I mean, honestly, Kevin Danzo, I mean, really weak. I mean, I don't know where he's going with that ball. Terrible. They give it away here again as we come back from the replay. Here's Alejandro Garnacho across and try to keep it alive behind him as it's headed back towards the keeper and into Vicario's hands. Again. Whoa, how did this happen? Vicario throws it out into the midfield Porro is in no man's land. He has it stolen away from him. The ball's fed out wide to Garnacho, who works it back across the 6-yard box. And stretching, reaching for it was Neto, who tried to keep it alive, and in the end it comes to nothing. But my goodness, Spurs are clinging on. A little bit of a loose, awkward bounce there, and that allowed Spurs to win the throw, and they have it down the left side. But changes incoming for Spurs. Thomas Frank still not particularly happy. Can you blame him? Christian Romero and Richarlison are the two that are readying themselves on the sideline. So an interesting opportunity for Thomas Frank to make some changes. That's a lovely deft little flick by Kudus. And here's Porro in behind. Colomwani cuts it back for Kudus. Now Simons flicks it back for Mohamed. Kudus was trying to get to it, but well defended. Really well defended by Trevor Chalobah. Out for the corner. Again, really good combination. I mean, Mohamed Kudus, if any Spurs player has been positive tonight, it's been him. He's done really, really well, creating opportunities, getting into good spaces and areas that can threaten from. And he's won Spurs a corner here, which he will take, Mohamed Kudus. Spurs are going to get back into this game. It will be on the shoulders of Mohamed Kudus, it seems, at the minute. Here he is, Kudus. Right-footed, or left-footed, delivery from the right-footed corner. Right-sided corner, but it's into the hands of Sanchez. And now springing away are Chelsea. They have a 3-on-3. On the counter, it's down the right side for Garnacho, who breaks past his man, is brought down. And it's going to be a free kick and a yellow card for Xavi Simons, who committed a late challenge on Alejandro Garnacho. You see it again, springing away on the counter. Spurs really vulnerable. And Enzo Fernandez down the right-hand side, feeds it in for Garnacho, is the better of his man. Try to slide for the ball there, Xavi Simons, and just slides a little too late. The ball's gone, and he just catches Alejandro Garnacho, and a yellow card. So a double substitution for Spurs. Kevin Danzo's day is done. He's going to be replaced by Christian Romero, the Spurs captain. You get the armband as he enters the fray, which is good to see Christian Romero back, and he's going to be cheered on by the crowd. And Rodrigo Bentancur is coming off. He's going to be replaced by Richarlison. So a little bit of a tweak to the Spurs side. I think Sarr might drop in alongside Palhinha. And then maybe Colomwani might go to the wide area. Xavi Simons in the 10 maybe, and then Richarlison as the lone centre forward. More of a 4-2-3-1 for Spurs. They have a bit of defending to do before they do that. Another Chelsea free kick high up. Pedro Neto and Reece James over this free kick. On the right hand side. So about to hit the hour mark here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Chelsea leading by a 1-0. Another opportunity from a set piece. So Reece James whips it in with his right foot, and that's very deep. And out the other end for a goal kick. Pretty anticlimactic, that one. Looks like I've successfully predicted what Thomas Frank's trying to do. It's not really hard. You could probably have predicted it. Xavi Simons in the 10 and Richarlison as the lone centre forward, Colomwani out to the left, and Kudus staying on that right hand side of that front four. There's another Chelsea foul here. It's just been constant all day. Spurs, they've been really sloppy in those moments. So free kick here for Chelsea. A lot further out, much closer to the centre circle than their last couple of free kicks. And that is right in the centre of the pitch. in terms of the distance to the sidelines. James goes short. Neto back to Reece James. Back to Pedro Neto. And back to Reece James. As he flicks it into the box now. James! Too much for Garnacho, who does touch it on the way through as it goes out for a goal kick. Well, Spurs have won 5 of their 9. Sorry, I had already read that one. Chelsea have lost 3 of the last 5 Premier League matches. More than they'd lost in their previous 16 combined. And they're in just 2 of their previous 30 seasons, they've had 4 defeats in their opening 10 games, doing so in 2015-16 and the 23-24 campaigns. If they lose tonight, they would add this season to that list of seasons, where they've lost 4 of their opening 10 games. Porro. A little bit of a bounce there. Might have helped for Richarlison out. Nicely well dealt with by Chalobah. As Kudus brings it down on the right side. Work back inside to Palhinha, who's not willing to take a risk, not willing to look forward. Has to go back to Romero. Porro does well to flick it over his man, and Garnacho and is brought down in the process as Garnacho tries to win it back. And that's going to be a free kick to Spurs. Porro brought down that time. Yeah, definitely a foul. But I gotta say that there are moments in this game, and as a neutral it's quite frustrating to see from Spurs' point of view. They've been a little bit too safe in possession at times. And I'm not saying they're being too cautious with the ball. They're still being sloppy. I'm not saying that they're trying to stop themselves from losing the ball. That's a completely different point. But when they have the ball and there's options there that they can play forward, they don't want to take that option. And I think, certainly in my terms, my team, if I was watching my team, I would always say, take the risk of going forward. If you lose it going forward, that's fine. Try and win it back. But never refuse the risk or never refuse playing it forward if there's an option there. Always try and be aggressive. Always try and be more positive. And at times today, Spurs have been a little bit like, there's an option there, but do I go for it? And then by the time they actually think about it, it's gone already. So they're too hesitant with their decision making, even when they do think about possibly going forward. They just need to be sharper, Spurs. They just look a little off it today, and they have all evening. It's been a little bit more improved in the second half, but not by a major margin. Pedro Porro is pregnant on the sideline there, with the ball underneath his shirt as he's trying to dry it off, and he's going to go for a long throw. With no Kevin Danzo on the field now, it's Porro's job to fill that in as he throws it in, flicked on the near side, kept alive as Spurs trying to work it in between the lines here as Van de Ven was in the box and deemed to have dragged a Chelsea player down. Their free kick to Chelsea. See it here. Really good from Romero, but a little bit of a foul on Chalobah. Cucurella is not happy with the referee. Chelsea are going to make a change. The Spurs have made a number of changes. Remember, both sides have 6 substitutions because Xavi Simons came on for Lucas Bergvall was a concussion substitute. As per the protocols, if Spurs are allowed to make that sub, then Chelsea get an extra sub as accustomed. So both will have, in essence, 6 substitutes in the game. And Chelsea have used their first substitute, Jamie Gittins, coming on for Alejandro Garnacho. Spurs have made 3 subs, 2 windows, so they can still make 3 more. And Chelsea can make 5 more if they wish. Don't know if they would, but they can. If they theoretically they can. Alejandro Garnacho's night is over, which he doesn't seem too happy with. On the sideline, looks a little bit downhearted. He hasn't really done much, so don't really blame the manager for wanting to bring on some an option, a difference in the wide area, just to pique the Spurs defenders' interest again. Cucurella clearing away. Ball headed forward by Romero. Simons flicking it out to the right side for Kudus. Mohamed Kudus had the final touch. And Mark Cucurella wins a throw-in. He made sure the assistant knew that he was desperate for a throw-in there, Mark Cucurella. It definitely was a Chelsea throw. Seems a little bit peeved at the minute there, Mark Cucurella, with a few with the officials. Not too sure what that's about, but he's not happy. So it's going to be a yellow card here for Enzo Fernandez with a high boot there, is it? The referee's pulled out a yellow card right away, and it's an issue with João Palhinha, who's still down. The players are not happy again here. This time, earlier in the game, it was a decision where the referee gave a yellow card for the Spurs player against the Chelsea player, and now it's the opposite way about, and he's still given a yellow card. I haven't seen a replay of it, but it's Enzo Fernandez that gets the yellow. We'll see it again. Romero hits it down into space. Palhinha picks it up. Oh, that! Oh! That is knee height. That is. Oh, well, he doesn't make much contact, to be fair. I think that's a yellow card. I think that's a good decision by the referee, if I'm honest. He could very easily give you red there, but I think yellow is just about right. He does catch him at knee height, but he just kind of skims him. There's no real contact. If it's full force contact, it's a red card all day long. But because he kind of just skims him, he doesn't actually make real proper contact, it's a yellow card. I think that's the fair decision. And I gotta say, to this point, the last 68 minutes, touch wood, that continues, but the referee's made some really good calls. Touch wood, that continues. Free kick to Spurs then. Lofted into the box by Porro, and straight into the hands of Robert Sanchez. As Chelsea try and spring away. Here's Pedro Neto with pace down the right side. He's bursting away, but the ball was going out of play. Throw into Spurs. Again, the game's lacked a little bit more quality in the second half. Either Chelsea are resting on their laurels. Oh, that's lovely from Xavi Simons. Completely sent his man, but in the end he has himself dispossessed. Lovely little bit of skill, but didn't come to nothing. He was dispossessed mere seconds later. Romero does really well. Oh, that's really smart. Wins the ball, and now he's played it through to Mohamed Kudus. Spurs could be in. Here's Richarlison. Not much in that, as he has a shot from the edge of the box. It was well charged out. Well outnumbered there with the Spurs players, the Chelsea players, as Cucurella fires it away. Throw in down that left-hand side for Chelsea, with João Pedro wins, but really smart from Romero. Some really good bits of skill there from Spurs, but at the same time, not much end product. Still only 2 shots in the game, which they had in both of those shots in the first half. So it's really been more of a struggle in the second half to get anywhere near the Chelsea goal. Chelsea haven't been as flying forward a lot as they were, as much as they did in the first half, but they still have been able to get opportunities on the Spurs goal, and Spurs have really struggled again to get any sort of attack and output in this game whatsoever. At 20 minutes to go, there was more movement on the Spurs bench. Oh, Caicedo caught in no man's land there. He's had the ball nicked away from him. Here's Mohamed Kudus, working into space, gets the shot off, charged down, and caught by Robert Sanchez on the rebound. But oh, goodness me. Jed Spence tussling well with Pedro Neto and coming away with the ball for the moment as Neto rolls him to the ground, and that's a free kick to Spurs. There's Pedro Neto. This one is against. The crowd feel a bit more energetic. Feel that their side might have something in this, or a bit of individual quality might save them so far in this game. And as I said, if Spurs are going to get back into this game, it's going to be on the shoulders of Mohamed Kudus, it seems, because he's the brightest player they have out there at the moment. Again, what's going on there? Goodness, Chalobah's almost toying with the ball around the edge of his own box, and he goes down under a challenge. Gets a free kick, but I mean, for a moment there, he could have been in a terrible position at losing the ball. Right at the edge of his own box. Right, double substitution and coming here for Spurs. Brennan Johnson is going to be coming on, as well as Wilson Audebert. So attacking changes for Spurs. Audebert and Johnson on. And coming off is going to be Pedro Porro and Xavi Simons. So Xavi Simons, who was brought on in the first half, in the first 7 minutes for that injury, or the concussion to Lucas Bergvall, he was being checked out, so they used that sub. And they're now going to bring him off, as well as Pedro Porro. Well, it looked like they were bringing Pedro Porro off there. They are. Porro's off for Udogie, sorry. So Porro's off for Destiny Udogie. Johnson's on for Colomwani. And Audebert's on for Simons. So Colomwani, Simons and Porro all off. And Brennan Johnson, Wilson Audebert and Destiny Udogie all on for Spurs. And that's their final substitutions. So this is the Spurs team that will carry them to the end of this game. Now 6 subs made. Of course, with the concussion substitute, both teams now have 6 sub opportunities. And Spurs have used all of those opportunities. That's a nice little 1-2 there. Here's Jamie Gittins down the left-hand side for Chelsea. Pokes it forward. João Pedro with a back pass. Here's Enzo Fernandez finding Pedro Neto. Good save by Vicario. Again, Spurs to get it away, but Reece James is going to strike one. Over the bar it goes. My goodness me. Again, it looks so easy for Chelsea. Even when Spurs do have bodies back in the way, Chelsea just look in rhythm. They look so comfortable. Even in the final third, just sweeping efforts. Look really fluid in their attack and play, Chelsea. And quite in stark contrast to Spurs, who look really stodgy. There's going to be a yellow card flying out here for a foul on Marc Cucurella by Mohamed Kudus. Yeah, very late. Just a aggressive one from Mohamed Kudus. Looks like Chelsea are going to be making another change. Romeo Lavia is coming on in a few minutes. It's going to be their second sub of the game. We'll see him enter the fray very shortly. Cucurella finding Enzo Fernandez. No room to work there as Enzo Fernandez has it stolen away from him. Back to Cucurella. Caicedo now. Fofana out to the right hand side is Neto. Back to Fofana. Well, for Chelsea, it's all about not doing anything silly for the final 15 minutes. Just trying to see this game out. Try and find a second, but don't go all out for it, as Malo Gusto is going to be coming off here. And Romeo Lavia is coming on. So, Gusto taking some water, but he's going to be coming off. And Romeo Lavia will come on into midfield, so more of a traditional 4-2-3-1 for Chelsea. 2 holding midfielders. And Malo Gusto will be serenaded by the travelling Chelsea fans as he walks around the outer perimeter of the pitch, alongside those away fans who at the moment are happy. At the minute, it doesn't look like their mood is going to be dampened anytime soon. Here's Jamie Gittins breaking towards the box. Nicely seen away by Jed Spence, who's gone to right back. And as he tries to win a throw, the ball bounces out, and he does win a throw. There, Jed Spence. A reminder for you, we do have our game of the week coming up in less than an hour's time at Anfield. Liverpool taking on Aston Villa. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff from Anfield. Do stay with us for that one, as Reece James a bit poor on Richarlison there. I don't know That's a bizarre little moment. And a reminder, Liverpool Aston Villa is on the way at 8 o'clock. Here's Gittins. Down the left-hand channel. Hooks it back to Enzo Fernandez. Back to Gittins. Cucurella. Fernandez. Brought down there, Enzo Fernandez, by Jed Spence. Oh, and he's got all in the face of Mark Cucurella there, Jed Spence. A little bit unprovoked. And referee Jared Gillett making sure all is okay, but I'm sure it is. Enzo Fernandez is still down. Yeah, it's just a little bit too aggressive from Jed Spence, nowhere near the ball, just striding in to win the ball. He was too late. Just catches the shin of Enzo Fernandez with his shin to shin contact, and a free kick to Chelsea. I gotta say, it's not been the game with the most quality, no doubt about it. I think this game has been lacking in quality at times. Reece James goes short with a free kick. Jimmy Gittins, nice little touch, flicks it back towards the box, nicely take it in, laid back by Enzo Fernandez, who didn't want to have the shot. Here's Neto, who goes all the way back to the last man in Wesley Fofana. And back to his goalkeeper in Sanchez. He's under a bit of pressure. Gets it out of his feet nicely. The flick on by Enzo Fernandez is guided back to Vicario by Romero. Van de Ven. Oh, undercooked it a little bit. The doggy had to try and rescue that. That was a terrible ball by Van de Ven. Allows Chelsea back on the ball as a whip ball in. Romero has to swing a leg at it. And it does go behind. He didn't make any contact, I think, there, Romero. So I think it's just gone for a goal kick. But terrible ball again by Van de Ven. Completely undercooked it to Destiny Doggy, who had no chance. And then just the ball across the box. It was cleared away. It wasn't touched out, actually, by Romero. From the cross, it went straight out for a goal kick. But again, Spurs causing their own problems again. You look at that lost at the minute, Spurs. And it's certainly not down to the manager. His record against Chelsea is actually really good. Thomas Frank has lost just 2 of his 8 Premier League games against Chelsea. Won 3 and drawn 3. So he's a very good record against the Blues. But of course, all of those 3 victories have come at Stamford Bridge, with the Dane winless in his 4 home games against Chelsea, drawn 3 and lost 1 of those. But he does have a good record against Chelsea, does Thomas Frank. Seda was trying to battle on the ball there and scrambled it clear to Chalobah. I think Spurs need a bit of encouragement, and Chelsea might have just given them that little glimpse of encouragement there with that sloppy move. But Spurs need to show a bit more encouragement from their side of things. And they haven't really done it all night. They've looked really tentative. It's like they've looked afraid. I mean, Halloween's over. Halloween was yesterday, but they still look terrified, Spurs. I don't really understand it. What are you terrified of? I mean, Chelsea are just pinging it in the air at the minute. And that's fired at a play by Van de Ven. I mean, there's little to no energy at the minute from Spurs. Chelsea are just toying with them now. I mean, they're pinging it 20-30 yards in the air, Chelsea, and still coming away with the ball. I mean, it's bizarre. But it's not like it's not on brand. It's certainly on brand for Chelsea in this performance tonight. Tough away game, albeit not historically for Chelsea, but in any season it's still a game where they go. It's going to not be easy to go to Spurs and win. As I said, although they have very good, vast experience, but today it really has been. They've really not had to work hard defensively, certainly, Chelsea. Really not at all. They actually haven't really had to work hard that well in attack, really. They gifted them the goal, more or less, did Spurs. So Chelsea have come here and really probably have energy to spare come the end of this game. Well, that was sloppy from Reece James. Played straight out away from Pedro Neto. 8 minutes to go. Spurs 0, Chelsea 1. A goal from João Pedro in the first half separates the sides. And remains the only goal of this game. But will it be the only goal come the final whistle? Or is there more in this one before Jared Gillett calls to an end this pretty, not a pretty affair anyway. Certainly not. Certainly not one to write home about. But you're not going to get crackers every week. Here's Pedro Neto down the right side. I think a second Chelsea goal would more than certainly end this. Can Spurs conjure up something? Of course, I'm a complete neutral. I don't really care who wins. On the balance, I think it's not going to change my mood very much. But as Pedro Neto stayed down, so Reece James is just going to put the ball out of play. He's really struggling with his left leg there, Pedro Neto. Whether he's pulled a muscle or it's maybe cramp, but it looks like he might have. It's not his hamstring. Would that be his hamstring? It would be his calf muscle. It would be his calf, but he's up and back to his feet. So maybe a bit of play acting there from Pedro Neto. Just bizarre. A reminder that in 45 minutes' time we'll be at Anfield as Liverpool take on Aston Villa. Liverpool looking to end that 4-game losing streak in the league after their continuation of a 6 defeats in 7 after that defeat to Crystal Palace in midweek. And they take on an Aston Villa side who are on a great run of form. Have won each of their last 4 league games of Aston Villa, so they couldn't be in better form if they wanted to coming to Anfield. But if there's any time to play Liverpool, it's now. Will that change tonight? We'll see if Arne Slot's Reds can conjure up some positivity. And Chelsea going to make another change here. Estevao is going to be coming on. And Pedro Neto's night is done, so it looks like maybe there is an issue with him. And he's not able to continue, so he's coming off. And Estevao is coming on. A young, energetic winger. Is certainly what the Spurs defence need to see at this time in the game. There's going to be their third and final substitution for Chelsea. Because they've made them in 3 different windows, so that's the substitutions all used for Chelsea, I would suspect. Unless if the concussion substitution adds a 6th sub and an extra window to make that sub, or if it's still 3 sub windows. We'll find out. If they make another sub Chelsea, then we know it's 4 sub windows with 6 subs rather than 6 and 3. Right, anyway, not a massive deal. 5 minutes to go. Chelsea lead by 1-0, but the way things are going, they're just going to manage this one out for a victory and see the result away. And they've got a chance to try and add to it here. Enzo Fernandez breaking towards the box. Fired away by Spurs towards Richarlison, who holds it up well, but again, unable to make any further gains. But they're going to get the free kick there, Spurs. Oh, actually, they're going to get a drop ball because the referee touched the ball. So, uncontested drop ball. Oh, nice flick by Richarlison down the right-hand side. Brennan Johnson across. And it's headed away by Cucurella for the corner. Can Spurs fire themselves into this with 4 minutes of normal time to go? This will be corner number 6 for Spurs. Right-hand side. 3.5 minutes of the 90 to go. Mohamed Kudus over it. Big chance this. Left-footed delivery by Kudus. Up and into the hands of Robert Sanchez. Anticlimactic again. I gotta say, not much threat from either of the two sides on set pieces tonight, which is a little bit of a breath of fresh air that players can still defend set pieces, because it seemed that it was getting to a point, whereas this season it was just like every set piece was turning into a big goal chance. It was getting a bit too much, if I'm honest. But it's nice to see a game where not every set piece is a big chance or a big mistake or a big opportunity. It is actually being defended well. It is 4 sub windows, by the way, because Chelsea are going to make another sub, so clearly they're able to make 4 in 4 separate windows because of that concussion substitution. Here's a chance here, working it towards the box with Esteval, cleared away again by Spurs as Richarlison was body checked there. But fair bit of physicality, said the referee. As Chelsea are going to make another change. Wesley Fofana's coming off, and Tosin is coming on. So some fresh legs in the defence, trying to see out this 1-0 victory for Chelsea. He's taking his time, Wesley Fofana. We'll see how long will be added on at the end of the 90 here. See how much time Spurs will be given to try and conjure up something against Chelsea. He is in no major hurry, Wesley Fofana. Something that Jed Spence is not too happy about. Trying to waste as much time as possible. And on comes Tosin. And Spurs were given a free kick for that body check on Richarlison. He's about 20 yards offside. Vicario pings one forward. Richarlison's just not going to get into the mix too early, as there is an offside flag up against the Spurs player. It wasn't Richarlison, but it was someone else who is deemed to have been impacting the play from an offside position. So quite anticlimactically again, it comes to nothing. Nathan, I didn't see that, but thank you very much for letting me know about the FA Cup results. It's been a busy weekend of FA Cup action. Already the first round of the FA Cup getting underway this weekend. Some interesting results this weekend, and of course we'll take full advantage of the FA Cup when it reaches round 3, when the Championship and Premier League sides get involved, but keeping a close eye on who might be a risk taker is Reece James, who might have been called for handball. I think it might be a little bit of a desperate claim from the Spurs fans, but we will see. 6 added minutes at the end of the 90. Lots of time left. Spurs need just one chance to score, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen at the moment. They're battling to try and keep possession of the ball at the minute in their own half, as they're not successfully doing that, with Caicedo bursting away. Kudus trying to battle for it. I did see Macclesfield winning 6-3. I did see that. I was keeping an eye on that game. That was a great game between Macclesfield and Tottenham. 6-3. Great game. We love about the FA Cup. Fantastic little results like that. They wanted a handball there. I've just seen it again. It's not handball. Come off the chest and then the thigh. It's just not handball at all. So free kick here, or sorry, throw in, down the left side for Chelsea. Trying to keep it alive, and it's run out of play there. Spurs throw. It just looks... Would Spurs deserve a draw? Probably not. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they probably do. But do you always get what you deserve in football? No. Could Chelsea have added to their lead to probably give them a little bit more comfort in this game? Definitely. But as it stands, I think this would be a fair result. But we'll see. We'll see. Spurs with a free kick on the halfway line. Still 4 minutes of the additional time still to go, so there's no shortage of time. Vicario's going to take this free kick. No rush from Vicario as he goes short to Jed Spence, but he's marked up and he goes all the way back to Vicario. I mean, they're fuming, the crowd, as he does go long this time, Vicario, and he goes too long this time to Robert Sanchez. I mean, my goodness. It just looks like it's not Spurs' night. But here's a ball in behind for Chelsea. It's João Pedro again, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, lays it off for Gittins, who absolutely skies it over the bar. He only had the goalkeeper to beat, and he ended up beating himself because he fired it right over the bar. That was terrible. I mean, all he has to do is tuck it in the corner and it's over. Puts far too much on it. He's leaning back and he's put it miles over the crossbar. It's kept that little sliver of hope that remains in Spurs to get a draw alive. Although here come Chelsea again. It's in behind João Pedro again. Saved by Vicario. Behind for a corner. Two massive chances for Chelsea in the last minute to dead the game. One skied over the crossbar and the other saved by Vicario. He's kept Spurs in this game, Vicario. That's a great save with his left hand. And he's kept them with an opportunity, if they can conjure it up, to win to get a draw out of this. But at the minute, Chelsea are just going to keep it at the corner flag. Oh, that didn't last very long. It's fallen for Lavia, who's well challenged on the edge of the Spurs box, and there was an offside flag on a Chelsea player. So a free kick to Spurs. 2 minutes of the 6 added to go, but they've really wasted this additional time, Spurs. They've not really threatened at all. Long firing ball. Where is everybody? Easy for Chelsea to win it back again. Flicked over the top. Cleared away by Tosin. There's nobody flying forward for Spurs at all. Doesn't seem like they're trying to win to get a draw out of this game or get a goal. And Van de Ven is tackled, but fairly so. And the last touch came off the Spurs player, through into Chelsea. I mean, they ping it forward. Vicario pings it forward 60 yards, and there is no Spurs player in the vicinity of where the ball drops. I mean, honestly, haphazard from Spurs, even when they're trying to win the game, or to try and, sorry, I keep saying win the game, keep trying to get forward to try and get a goal, to draw the game. They look haphazard. They look, no, just no. And look at Chelsea again, they're in again here. As just about dealt with on that occasion by Van de Ven. And cleared away out for the Spurs throw. But every throw and every one challenge, the Chelsea fans cheer even louder in that away end. As Estevao is rubbing the pitch. Was he lost something? What? Oh, he's blood on his face. But why is he rubbing the pitch? Ah, blow the whistle out. This game's bizarre. I said it would be one of these games. I knew it from early on. It's just one of these strange games. Last seconds of this match then for Spurs. They've got the ball with their keeper. They're throwing everybody forward now. They've no choice. And Vicario's ball is straight out of play. Out to the left channel. Bounces away from Richarlison. Out of play for a throw in to Chelsea, which they're in no hurry at all to take. Nor should they be. Nor would you be if you were in that situation. 6 minutes are up. 6 minutes is done. Up to Jared Gillett now. Throw in taken by Chelsea. Drop down. Spurs trying to win it back. They win the throw in. Just throw everybody forward. Throw your goalkeeper and everybody up. Get everybody up the field. No time to waste here. Dougie takes it short to Papsar, who works it back. Van de Ven. Now Spence pinging one forward, and it's caught comfortably by Robert Sanchez. And there is the final whistle. A haphazard Spurs performance. Chelsea really didn't have to work too hard on the day. But in the end, a moment of quality from João Pedro fires Chelsea into the lead and gives them all 3 points here in North London. It is now the 5th successive time that they've beaten Spurs in the league, and it is the 3rd time in a row they've beaten them at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They really didn't have to work hard for it at all, Chelsea. Spurs were poor in front of goal all day. They were nowhere near the level, and they cannot complain that they've come away with nothing here. And for the 2nd successive home game, Spurs walk away with defeat and a little bit more concern about Thomas Frank and his team, who are looking a little bit more off it in this game, certainly. But Chelsea continue on, and after defeat at home to Sunderland last week, they're back to winning ways, and it didn't even mean much to them. They didn't need much quality on the day. I think the second half was really quite poor. But in the end, the win is Chelsea's, and that is all that matters to them. And Spurs will have some soul-searching to do before their next game. Final score at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium: it's Spurs 0, Chelsea 1. Well, there we are. A game that was lacking quality in the second half, and Chelsea deservedly winning. I'd have to say they were the better team on the day. They looked the more threatening team, and Spurs were atrocious, to say the very least, and cannot complain whatsoever. Their only shot on target in the game, Spurs, was the chance for Mohamed Kudus that was well saved by Robert Sanchez, but that was their only chance, and that was in the first half. So really, the second half was actually worse than the first, which is quite a statement considering how bad the first half was. Reminder for you, we have another game coming up for you very shortly, as Liverpool take on Aston Villa. That's a 8 o'clock kickoff to round off your Saturday action in the Premier League. Thank you very much indeed. But we're looking forward to this one. Coming up, Liverpool on a 4-game league losing streak, and Villa on a 4-game league winning streak. Couldn't be in more opposite form, but it always the power of Anfield. It didn't work on Wednesday night in the League Cup against Crystal Palace. Well, it worked tonight. Will Arne Slot's Reds looked a little bit more rejuvenated, or will it be more of the same? Surely it can't continue forever. You never know. We will see. That one's coming up very shortly. But thank you very much for joining us on this one. Chelsea cruised to victory, really. Spurs were nowhere near their match today, and Enzo Maresca's side are back to winning ways and up to the top 4 once again. Bye-bye.